Hey friends, it's Judy Klock here, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Middletown, Virginia. And I am coming to you today. Got to fix my AirPods. They have a very strong echo when I talk, and it's very distracting. Coming here today to help you decorate your holiday table for the festive season coming ahead. So let's jump right in and see what we're going to be doing. So I used the Reindeer Fun Bundle to kind of come up with this little table setting. So I've made a couple of like name tags for your table. And you can see we've got the full antlers for the male deer, and I've kind of trimmed them off and kind of changed up the outer layer from pecan pie to crumb cake for the doe, just kind of lighten her up a little bit. Then we've got just a fun little easy peasy like napkin ring. And then I've made just a little pocket to put your silverware in. So let's go ahead and take a look at each of these components. Let's start with our name cards, our little name tents for the table. So I've got it's pieces of red cardstock. I used 4x4 and I just scored it at 2.5 to create that fold. Then I'm going to add a piece of basic white that is 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And we're just going to go ahead and put that down. Going to be doing a lot with our liquid glue today. Okay. So we got that going on there. And I stamped these after I had put them on, which is always risky because I like to say stamp, then stick. But I might handwrite these. You can handwrite them too. For the samples, I used a retired set called Alpha Best. It has the letters, and they're pretty small, so that seemed to work. Or if you have nice penmanship, you can, of course, go ahead and write them yourself. I might attempt that for the rest of these. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's just go ahead and do both of these at once, just because I'm here. I've got them. Let's go ahead and get this done. And if you're watching this, be sure to say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know, do you create a tablescape for your tables when you do like a fancy dinner? Yes or no? And if my sister's great at making tablescapes for her dinners, she does a beautiful job. I don't really bother too much. It's not really my thing. We're going to go ahead. These are 1 3/4 inch circles that I just used with garden green. Make sure, 1 3/4 inches. And I just punched them out. 1 3/4 inch circle punch. We just kind of punch those out. I'm just going to put those on the left. Now, I've already pre-cut my buck. So let's go ahead and cut our dough. And then we'll put the two of them together. So I'm going to bring in our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. I've got my plates here. Okay, I've got let me see if I can move this up. There we go. Got my first plate, my first clear plate. I'm going to see if I can do all 3 of these at once. We'll see. So I've got here our early espresso. We're going to cut the buck from that. I think we've got enough there. All right, I'm going to add a little piece of this 3M tape, just kind of hold that die in place. This way it doesn't move. All right, we got that. I'm going to come in with our basic white, and we're going to cut out our next piece, which is the middle layer of our deer head. I just love putting this together. It's so fun. And then our last piece we're going to cut out of our crumb cake. And again, one more little piece of our tape. I kind of used a big piece on that first one. You don't need a very big piece. Just enough to make sure you're going to hold that die in place. All right, I'm going to come in with my second clear plate. And I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Now, it might get a little wobbly on the work surface, just because I'm turning this, trying not to hit the computer. The lamp's going to be shaking. There we go. All right, let's move that out of our way. Let's take off our pieces. get that out of the way. Here we go. We've got our early espresso with our buck. That's now Trish. Okay, we got our middle layer and we've got our top layer. All right, here we go. So we've got all 3 layers. I am going to go ahead and take these out of my die. Now, if you have, and of course, we're going to punch out those pieces. Little holes here. Okay, how's the weather where you folks are? It turned really cold here in Virginia. It wasn't too bad up until about a day, maybe a day and a half ago, and then it dropped like a rock. We had some really gusty winds last night too, which was kind of freaking out my golden retriever just a bit. He's a little bit of a fraidy cat. All right, so let's start with our dough. So the first thing I want to do is I want to trim off the antlers, obviously. So I'm just going to come here and I'm just going to trim those off. Okay. Because we don't need these on our dough. Okay. Now I'm going to come in. Our next layer is going to be our white layer. Just put a little bit of glue. Don't need a lot of glue because it'll spread out. Okay. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to just kind of make sure that we layer her up. There's a little bit more brown in there. I'll go in and trim that after. Got most of the antlers off. And let's go ahead and add the front piece to finish off our dough. So I just love how these come out. They're so fun to make. They look hard, but they're really not. It's just layering it up. And once you layer it up, all the layers kind of peek through. So look at how great it is with that early espresso peeking through for the nose and the eyes. And you got that little tiny bit of white there. Oh, love it. Now, what did I do with my paper snips? I had them here just a minute ago. My really tiny paper snips. Oh boy, this is what happens when you have too much stuff on your desk and you can't find anything. All right, let's see if we can just trim out this little bit of early espresso. We don't want that in there. Okay. Okay, pretty good. So now we've got our dough. I'm going to go ahead and add her to one of our green circles. And I'm just going to put the bottom edge of the dough even with the bottom edge of that green circle. All right, and that is one card done. Let's go ahead and do our buck. Same thing. Now we're not going to cut off the antlers because we want those. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to, again, add some glue to that white layer. Put it down, match up the edges with the bottom and the sides and the ears. Okay, we've got that. We're going to come in with our pecan pie. We're going to add that to the front, and then we're going to do something a little fun. So this big piece here, if you notice, it cuts out that big part of the nose, right? Cuts that out. So I thought, how fun would it be to make one of these into Rudolph? So I took a little scrap piece of real red and I cut it out just so I could get that little nose piece. I'm going to add just a dab of glue and we're going to stick that right in there. And now we've got Rudolph. How cute is that? Isn't that adorable? Oops. Well, it's adorable if it would stay in there. The only trouble with working with liquid glue is it gets everywhere. All right, and now we're just going to go ahead and add him to our green circle. Again, I'm going to use a little liquid glue. If you wanted, you could put them on dimensionals, give them a little bit of a lift. And again, we're just going to put that bottom of that buck even with the bottom of our circle. And now we just have to go back and add the names. But we've got table name cards for our guests that will be joining us for our holiday dinner. All right, you've got napkins. Let's make something a little special for our napkins. I have here a piece of garden green. It is 8.5 by about 1.5, maybe 1 3/8, close enough. So I'm going to just kind of fold one edge over. I'm going to bring in my napkin. I folded my napkins into thirds because I didn't want them to be quite so wide. All right, I'm going to, again, fold this over. Okay, just kind of put that crease there. And I'm going to add tear and tape to this side and this side. And we are going to have that be done. Here's my tear and tape. I'm like, where is my tear and tape? So I literally am losing things left and right. Now, with the Reindeer Days bundle, we had some holly leaves that we could cut out, as you saw on the sample. So I cut out my holly leaves. I used one leaf out of Garden Green, one leaf out of Granny Apple Green, and of course my berries out of Real Red, keeping in the theme of all the designer series paper, which we haven't used yet. Now I've got here, I punched this out of Real Red. That's a 2 3/8 of an inch circle. I've got here holly leaves. I've punched them out of, as I said, Granny Apple Green and Garden Green. And then I've punched out, well, I die cut, not really punched. I've die cut out the holly berries out of Real Red. So let's go ahead and put these on. Okay, it doesn't matter which you put down first, whether you put down the Granny Apple Green first or the Garden Green. It's just your choice. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And then we're just going to come and we're going to intersperse this here. We're going to just kind of put those leaves, turn them around so that they are filling in those gaps. And then we're going to come in with our holly berries, which I have just lost. They were on the red part of this paper pumpkin and I couldn't see them. It says paper pumpkin, better than a box full of puppies. I'm not sure I agree with that. I mean, I love paper pumpkins, but I think I'd rather have a box full of puppies. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add, for this, I'm going to add a little bit of our Stampin' seal. And I'm going to put it actually on my Garden Green so I can make sure that I don't go over the edges of my circle. And there we have our little, it's not really a ring. It's more like a napkin belly band. We have a belly band for our napkin. Now we got to dress up our silverware. Now I have cut, this piece was 5 inches by 6 inches. I've scored it at, I scored it at 5 inches here because I have a one-way design. So we have to be careful. So I turned, so my 6-inch side was at the top and I scored it at 5 inches. Then I came here, I scored it at 1.5, 3, and 4.5. So I've got like 3 equal sections. So now I want to cut this and I have to think just for a minute. Okay. So I want to cut this on the diagonal. So I'm going to cut from like the 3-inch score line. I'm just going to cut down, I don't know, maybe 1.5 inches on there to create that diagonal. Now I didn't do it on my sample because I wasn't sure how that would look. But we're going to add some tear and tape here and here so that when we close this, we can get that pocket to stay nice. And then we're going to add some tear and tape to this portion here. I think. I hope I did this right. You know, it's always a risk that you take when you do it this way. But I'm going to take this off and this off. Okay, we're going to put that there. I'm going to fold this up and we are going to score that in the back. And what do you know, I did do this right. Phew. Now we're going to slide. Oh, I forgot to trim this. I got to trim this piece off. That's what I forgot to do. I knew I forgot to do something. We're just going to trim this little piece off. Okay. There we go. And now you're all set to slide your silverware. I didn't bring down 2 sets from upstairs. I only brought down the one. You're all set to slide your silverware in there. I have here a piece of our ribbon This is about 12 inches of ribbon, maybe 13, somewhere along those lines. And I'm just going to tie it in a bow to add just another festive touch to our little silverware pocket. Okay, and again, these are just some ideas that you can have for your holiday table just to dress it up just a bit and make it a little bit more festive. Now, obviously, you don't have to do the silverware pocket if you're actually sitting down at a table and you have place settings. You might just want to put the silverware out, put the napkin in the center of the plate. If you're doing buffet style, you might want to do it in the pocket so that people can just grab a full set of silverware. You could also tuck a spoon down there if you want. This will work just as well for like if you're using plasticware. You can also use that for the plasticware. This will also work for paper napkins. If you're using paper napkins, you may just have to adjust the size of the band. But you can do all of these whether you're going really formal or whether you're just going a simple family style buffet, whatever you want. You can just add these extra little touches to make your holiday table extra special. That's it for me. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye. Why isn't this